them from speaking about your appalling bullying. Oh, and while you're at it, please let us see the birth certificates too.
Palace demands Meghan and Harry explain baby mystery after shocking DNA twist. And this time, silence won't save them. Because what just came out of Buckingham Palace doesn't sound like a royal request. It sounds like an ultimatum. A direct order to Meghan and Harry: prove your children are yours, or everything changes. No more curated interviews, no more carefully framed statements. The palace wants answers, and they're demanding something no one thought they'd ever ask for. And I'm talking about a DNA test. Not gossip, not a rumor, but an official request, straight from the heart of the monarchy. This isn't just a scandal, it's a breaking point. Because if even part of this story is true, then one of the most publicized royal pregnancies in modern history may never have happened at all. And if that's the case, then we're not just talking about deception. We're talking about a complete rewriting of royal history, legacy, and identity, with global consequences the Sussexes can't outrun. And for a royal family that practically invented the phrase, never complain, never explain. This move is unprecedented. Behind the towering gates of Buckingham Palace, the gloves have come off. And the message is clear. This isn't a family feud anymore. This is a crisis of legitimacy.
Whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
A formal DNA test request isn't just rare in royal circles, it's unheard of. Royals don't air private suspicions in public. They don't let palace rumors hit the headlines unless something behind the scenes is already boiling over. So for this kind of demand to be leaked, it means the palace has reached a limit. And what exactly triggered it? Not just one suspicious moment, but years of inconsistencies quietly building pressure behind closed doors. From shifting baby bumps to unexplained hospital silence, from squatting in heels to vanishing records. This didn't come out of nowhere. It came from everything. And now, the monarchy's patience has snapped. But if you think this is just about Meghan and Harry, think again. Because the deeper you go, the more this story stops being about a couple and starts being about the very future of the crown itself. From the beginning, Meghan's pregnancy with Archie raised eyebrows, but most people were too cautious, too polite, or too afraid of public backlash to say it out loud. Until now. Because let's be honest, even before the palace stepped in, something never quite added up. People noticed the strange way her baby bump seemed to shift. One day high, the next low, sometimes firm, sometimes folding. There was even that infamous video, widely circulated and never debunked, where Meghan's belly appeared to collapse inward as she sat down, like it had bent unnaturally. At first, people dismissed it.
Lie. They told people this baby hadn't been born when the baby had apparently been born. You can see why people think this is just so strange.
A trick of the fabric, maybe. A weird camera angle. But the image came from Getty, a verified press source, not some shady tabloid. And then there were the details no one could unsee. Meghan, in towering stilettos during her third trimester. Meghan, crouching and squatting effortlessly without the stiffness or heaviness that comes with late-stage pregnancy. All of it waved off by media defenders. But the whispers never stopped. They just got louder. Now, years later, the palace is no longer brushing those whispers aside. They're dissecting every frame, every photo, every appearance. And what they're seeing doesn't look like motherhood. It looks like performance. And that's where things get even darker. Because in a family that documents everything, from flower arrangements to royal baby blankets, the absence of medical records isn't just odd, it's explosive. There's no official hospital listed where Meghan gave birth to Archie. No physician statement. No royal press release featuring the usual quotes from palace doctors. Nothing. Just a carefully managed public appearance after the fact, and a lot of questions that were never really answered. Royal births are typically a spectacle of tradition and transparency.
So are you saying that he's 2 weeks older? And so I thought maybe that would allow time to wean the baby away from a birth mother if a surrogate was used. it would make sense. But instead of lying to the world, why not just say, we want a baby, we're having a baby, and we're using a surrogate.
Kate Middleton posed outside the hospital hours after delivery, just like Diana did before her. There were statements, signatures, photos, and confirmations. But with Meghan, there was a void. And that void is now being treated as more than just a privacy decision. It's being interpreted as deliberate omission. Because behind palace walls, officials reportedly found nothing. No medical documents, no delivery confirmation, no signed records from royal medical staff. And when you combine that with the ever-growing pile of visual oddities, the inconsistencies stop looking like coincidence. They start looking like a cover-up. Now, let's be crystal clear. Using a surrogate isn't the scandal. Women around the world, royal or not, turn to surrogacy for medical, emotional, or deeply personal reasons. If Meghan and Harry had simply said, "We're using a surrogate," the world would have listened. In fact, many people would have applauded the honesty, but that's not what happened. Instead, we got a carefully crafted story. A radiant mother-to-be in designer gowns, a global narrative about breaking royal traditions, celebrating motherhood and symbolizing change. But if that image was built on a lie, if the bump was fake, if the pregnancy was staged, then this isn't just about privacy.
Behind the scenes and a level of chaos that I think Meghan sort of loves to, I'm sure, rile people up and get people talking and all these sorts of things. And so you see this absolute disaster.
It's manipulation. A brand was born around that pregnancy. It fueled interviews, book deals, speaking tours, and global sympathy. Meghan and Harry became the face of modern royalty. Outsiders challenging the system, surviving the media storm, protecting their child from a cruel world. But if that child's birth was never what they claimed it was, then the entire narrative collapses. And what's left behind isn't courage, it's deceit. Because when you sell the world a fairy tale but forget to mention its fiction, the backlash isn't just harsh, it's inevitable. This isn't just about public embarrassment or media backlash anymore. This is about the crown. The monarchy has always rested on one thing: blood, legacy, lineage. Everything from titles to succession is built on the assumption that the royal bloodline is intact and uncontested. So when doubts surface about who was really born into that line, it doesn't just bruise the family image, it rattles the foundation of the entire institution. Think about it. Archie and Lilibet are not just royal children, they're royal heirs. Their status affects everything from who holds titles to who could one day carry the crown.
Very clear that she sees these two children not as little people who need to be protected, but as money makers.
If Meghan and Harry misled the world, if they allowed the public, the palace, and even the Commonwealth to believe in a biological connection that never existed, then this becomes more than personal. It becomes constitutional. That's why this DNA request matters. That's why the palace is willing to risk scandal to get the truth. Because the monarchy isn't a popularity contest, it's a bloodline. And if the legitimacy of that line is in question, then so is the future of the royal family itself. And right now, the question looming over Buckingham Palace isn't about feelings, it's about facts. Because as the palace's review deepened, what they uncovered wasn't just suspicious, it was staggering. They didn't find discreet documentation tucked away for privacy. They found nothing. No hospital name, no signed birth certificates from royal physicians, no photos, interviews, or confirmation of any standard maternity protocol. And in the world of royalty, that kind of absence is louder than any statement. This family logs everything: gowns, flowers, who waves from which balcony. But the birth of a royal child vanished into thin air. And if that wasn't alarming enough, insiders claim confidential files in the hands of royal advisors suggest Meghan never physically carried Archie at all. And the public? They're not staying quiet anymore. Old videos have resurfaced. Clips of Meghan's baby bump folding strangely as she sat. Photos where the shape shifts from one day to the next.
I will say that, like a lot of people, I saw the Getty images of the pillow dropping behind the skirt, and I thought at first they could be photoshopped, but Getty images is very reliable.
Entire Reddit threads, YouTube breakdowns, and slow motion analyses dissecting how her movements, her posture, even her glow seemed off. And then came the memes. Her crouching in heels while visibly pregnant. Her bump wobbling like a movie prop. At first, it looked like harmless social media noise, but now it's part of the investigation. Because when every supposed coincidence points to the same conclusion, that the pregnancy was staged, it starts looking less like speculation and more like a paper trail written in vanishing ink. At this point, everything comes down to one decision, one test, one swab that could confirm what the palace and the public have been demanding for years, the truth. If Meghan and Harry comply and the results confirm the children's biological ties, some of the fire might die down. It won't erase the questions, it won't undo the years of speculation. But it might offer just enough clarity to protect the children from further damage. It could even give the monarchy something it desperately needs, a sliver of certainty. But if the test is refused, or worse, if the results suggest anything different, then this isn't just a scandal. It's a royal crisis, a constitutional mess that shakes the very foundation of who belongs, who rules, and what the monarchy even stands for. And behind closed doors, the stakes couldn't be higher. Prince William is said to be furious. Princess Anne reportedly called it a disgrace. And King Charles, heartbroken, caught between loyalty to his son and duty to the crown. And it's interesting to remember how Meghan and Harry's story was once one of modern fairy tales and breaking boundaries. But now, as the palace demands answers and the world leans in to hear them, they may be remembered not as victims of royal injustice, but as the architects of their own downfall. All it takes is one test. And the truth? It's no longer theirs to hide.